All right, hello and welcome to your favorite talk show 101 right here on 89.7 Contact FM. My name as always is Eugene Anangwe. We're right here to talk about the dream of flying to the heart of Africa. My guest right here is the CEO of Rwandair, and that is none other than John Mirenge. Welcome to 101, sir. It's an honor having you on the show. Plus, of course, the aim of this discussion today is to take a look at the process of building this dream, the far that we have come as a national carrier, and of course, the challenges that we are facing, plus any other questions that might emerge in the process. So very quickly, I'll get into the most current affairs issues that we are facing and most airlines are facing that have been traveling abroad and all that. And I'll start first with the good news, where the World Bank doing business report has once again ranked Rwanda as the best, with the best environment of doing business in the sub-Saharan Africa. And maybe the immediate question I would ask as people who are also playing a role in, bringing this kind of reports or results, what is Rwandair's contribution to this ranking? Is there anything specific you'd say, this is what we have brought in the baking of this cake that we have today?
Thank you very much, Eugene. Thank you very much to the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
I would simply say that Rwandair's role as a catalyst to economic development goes without saying, is a contributor and one of the big contributors, one of the biggest pillars in seeing Rwanda where it is today. I mean, there can never be any economic development without proper access to the rest of the world and connectivity. And that's exactly our mission and our role in as a player in the economy. We deliver customers coming in and out of the country. These will be business people, these will be conference people, these will be tourists, these will be visitors to family and friends. And then if you look at the kind of building blocks that make Rwanda tick as an investment destination, the key is accessibility.
Connecting people, making people able to connect the country with all these other
So our role is definitely very key and fundamental, and that is why we never sleep on it, and we know how important it is in making Rwanda what it is.
The airline has continued to spread its wings, get new destinations and re-flying destinations where flights had probably been suspended and all that. But let's go back memory lane and look at this journey of, putting together this dream that we always say, flying your dream to the heart of Africa. What has been this journey? What have we been going through? What have you gone through as an airline to be able to get where we are today?
Thank you very much. Again, it comes back to where I guess that is why we continue to call ourselves a dream. Because Rwanda in itself, where it is today, where it has been able to reach today, is still around this dream that our key drivers, the government, have continued to lead. In this, you would say it would have only been inconceivable to assume that there would be a country like ours that is double landlocked, that is placed in the heart of Africa as is, but with very little access to the rest of the world, succeeding without a clear strategy on connectivity. As soon as this was understood, and understanding the fact that Rwanda will only succeed economically as services, as an IT hub, as a business hub, the first and foremost, the first and most important component to make that happen would naturally be a working and effective airline. So definitely our shareholder, who happens to be government today, put its money where the mouth is. And indeed, the process to invest and grow this into a viable and sustainable venture as you see today. So our journey of basically revamping what you see as Rwandair starts in 2009 when government decided to invest in the first new aircraft. And then the airline got away from the old Rwandair Express that depended on some small leased aircraft from wherever they could pick them. That was not sustainable. And into what we are today. So from then, in 2010, we've seen us grow from barely 5 destinations that we were covering then to the current 17.
From 5 to 17.
And growing to about probably 25 in the next 3 to 4 years. With a brand new fleet of about 7 aircraft that is going to grow to about 12 aircraft in the next 5 years. With wide bodies coming in the next 2 to 3 years that will take us beyond the continent of Africa to China, to India, to Europe, and even beyond. And again, the sky is the limit because this sector, as is known, especially on the continent, is still very virgin, I would say. It's just a matter of doing the right thing, and there will always be people willing to fly.
Yes. So still, before you continue on with the other point, I'd like to bring in this other issue that I said earlier on. We'll look at some of the current affairs issues that are happening and how different airlines and, of course, Rwandair may have been either affected, or your opinion on how other airlines are being affected on this. And this is on the issue of the Ebola pandemic, which most airlines that were flying to the Ebola hit destinations had to cut their flights there. How do you see the handling of this issue? How easy is it for you as an airline dealing with this? How easy or how hard is it? How is the situation like when it comes to handling this issue, when it comes to the profits, when it comes to your plans in terms of these destinations you're saying you plan to reach? How has this impacted on those dreams?
A pandemic to the magnitude of Ebola is something that you definitely would never treat simply. And without doubt, this has affected business, especially the travel industry. As you can imagine, today, if I were to tell you to fly to a destination in the affected areas, you would think twice. With those, and this is you who understands exactly where it is and the boundaries and probably what you need to do. But think of somebody who was planning to visit the continent of Africa as a tourist, as a businessman. You will be amazed how this has completely discouraged travel. To them, the difference between where Rwanda sits in East Africa and where the pandemic has been going on in West Africa does not exist. It's for them, in as far as Africa is concerned, it's one block.
One block, yes.
So it has affected travels, it has affected visitors, and definitely business has been struggling. If you ask me how it has been handled, I guess there could have been a better way to do it. It's a big scale. I mean, the communication around it could have been much better. But again, we were hit by scares here and there. But probably the good news that I had this morning was that from the World Health Organization, they were starting to see signs that the spread, especially in the epicenters in the 3 countries in West Africa, were starting to get contained, which is very good news. And hopefully before the end of this year, we'll go back to full capacity in terms of business. But there's no doubt it hit us and hit everyone in the travel industry.
Maybe this could be your personal opinion, or you could decide to talk on behalf of the national carrier. But if there has been debate around this, whether to cut off from these places. I know Rwandair didn't and does not fly to those, 3 majorly affected areas. But that debate has been there, that, stopping to fly there even makes things worse, especially delivery of, support to these areas, which even the president himself has said Rwanda will help, will try to do whatever it can to support those affected countries. So where is your position in this debate? Do you think it is a good thing to cut traveling there, or it is not a good thing?
I mean, we had a series of meetings with our Minister of Health, with other experts on the matter.
Yes.
And we've been working through a training process to all our crew, our ground staff, and name it. I think there is sufficient literature on how Ebola gets transmitted. And then all that is required is serious vigilance on the people that get closer to the areas where it's all happening. I think from our standpoint, we did the right thing. I mean, we fly into Nigeria as the farthest point, which probably had a few cases,
yes,
but which were quickly contained. And I mean, if we take, say, Nigeria as a case in point, with its size in terms of population, you could have expected worse, but they were quick to contain it because they did the right things. So I think it is doing the right things because the literature around Ebola, how it gets infected from one person to another, is now known. So doing the right thing for me still is the best prevention, rather than completely cutting off and assuming that it will never reach you if you're still doing the wrong things, because you never know at the end of the day how it moves. You could stop flying there, but you're not going to close borders. Still travelers could cross the borders and then get on the next flight away from a point where you thought Ebola was, and then it will still be spread.
So in your opinion, what you're trying to say, without putting words in your mouth, you are not fully the pro-cutting links?
No.
Okay. So you would definitely have had a situation that your colleague from Kenya, that is Mr. Titus Naikuni of Kenya Airways, who strongly had said we are not stopping to fly there, and it had to take Parliament to come up with that resolution that finally said Kenya Airways will no longer fly there. So you would have taken almost a similar stance. If Rwandair was flying Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea, you would have stood firmly and said it's not a good idea to move there?
I still believe that we would have had to evaluate our options.
Okay.
If we were in that situation, and taking into consideration everything that I've said and more. I mean, a national carrier has a lot of other stakeholders.
Yes.
So you need to get everything in totality. So I wouldn't want to sit here, especially that we as an airline don't fly to those specific countries,
yes,
to take a position.
Okay. So let's look at the future then, because at the end of the day, you've said that you're planning to add at least more destinations. There is also the aspect of how do we sustain these destinations? Do we have the right size of wings? Do we have enough wings to be able to fly and sustain and maintain these destinations without failing them with delays because we're waiting for a flight that has gone to another destination to come? What are the plans to sustain this?
Eugene, our growth strategy has been very measured if you look at where we've come from. I mean, we've allowed ourselves to basically grow organically, to allow us to, one, get adequate resources in place, i.e. crew, trained personnel, equipment, which means the aircraft you're talking about, and then proper studies about the destinations we choose to fly into. So all that is moving, but in a very phased manner. That's why today, with the 7 aircraft that we are operating, we can only serve 16 destinations. Next year, we'll get an extra aircraft. We'll probably add some 2 or 3 more destinations. The year after, we'll have another one. The following years, we'll add on 3 or so. And then based on that, we'll continue expanding on the continent and then beyond. So we are very cognizant of the fact that today's customer is very time conscious, means business when they choose to travel. And none of them is going to sit there and wait because probably one of your aircraft is delayed in one particular position and can't be in place at the right time.
Right.
So we are very cognizant of that, and that is something that we are working on progressively
to ensure that it's achievable. Let's talk about the cost of flying, where we clear this notion that flying is only for the chosen few, those who have it. How then do we make it, felt differently or understood differently? Because we have other economies which have made even flying to be as cheap as, it can be, where you can travel to local destinations just with a little amafaranga, and you're able to move and also enjoy the pleasure and privileges of flying. So what is the strategy in this area so that people don't really feel like, if I have to fly to Gisenyi or a local destination or even abroad, I need to have a lot of money to be able to fly?
Look, first of all, the aviation industry is one of those extremely expensive industry in terms of capital outlay that is required. And then we have some other unmanageable elements like the fuel that has been going through the roof over the years. And then the components, and then the expensive personnel that are required to keep those machines in the sky. So the totality of it is that it's a very, very difficult and capital-intensive industry. So at the end of the day, when any single investor deploys resources, naturally the first thing will be need for return on the investment. But that does not take away the fact that liberalization of the sector, which has been a very big problem on the continent, can go a long way to mitigate the fare levels. I'll tell you this with the examples, clear examples. Until about 4 years ago, when Rwandair started operating as a viable and sustainable airline in this country, those that remember that what used to be paid, what you used to pay from here to Nairobi, from here to Uganda, from here to Europe, will tell you that it's probably twice or at times even more than what is paid
today
currently. Yet, fuel has doubled
over this period, but
Over this
it's
period.
been fluctuating. There's a time it goes up,
Yes,
it goes down.
but overall is still
Higher
way
than it was
higher than
before.
it was 5-6 years ago. Reason in that when Rwandair was revamped, we basically set a new trend in terms of fares. Some destinations fares dropped by 50% and are still held there today. Again, because there was this new player on the block that influenced competition, and the end result was the drop in fares. So this is something that as an airline we've been fighting in all the meetings we do on the continent, beyond, that more than anything else, more than talking about subsidies to the airlines because of the losses that are probably being made from place to place, rather liberalize the skies on the continent, allow all operators to operate in all areas without any restrictions. With that, competition will determine the fares and will come down to a level where most of our people on this continent can afford to fly. But again, let me also put a caveat on that. All that can never happen without also our governments together understanding that it is important that flying is going to make business much easier. Hence, also cut down on some other fees and levies and charges that are applied to the industry. I'm talking about overflying charges, parking charges.
So today, which countries
charges.
or which destinations do you have the biggest challenge, the biggest bottleneck flying to?
The continent is still a problem as a whole.
Entirely.
Different countries will charge you different fees and charges, and some of them are actually ridiculous. You just wonder what whoever set them intended could only be to stop people from flying in that country. So it's still a problem. Again, there is the liberalization that is only on paper, but has not been...
Practically, it's not
working. Today,
is this within the region also, East African community?
Everywhere, East Africa inclusive.
So these big words, big statements we hear that, we've opened up borders, it is not really working.
The skies are yet to be liberalized. Yes.
So what do we do then? And probably what are we doing already? Have you petitioned? Have you asked? What are we doing?
We have engaged with our authorities that are at the same time engaging with the rest of the authorities within the East African region and beyond. So there's a lot of work going on. Okay. There's a lot of petitioning going on. Hopefully, at one point, I'm also aware that this matter has even been taken up to the African Union itself.
Yes.
That should be discussed to try and liberalize and free this continent from, would I say, quasi-monopolies that have been set up abnormally.
This brings me to the issue of, because you mentioned the East African community, and today we hear or we understand that it is possible to travel between Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda using a national identity card. Is it the same to fly? Are you able to fly with this ID?
Oh, yes. It's happening from the day when it started. I think, was it the 1st of June this year? From the day when it was set, straight away at the airport it started working. So a lot of our customers today do not use their passports, especially in the 3 countries that started this process.
Okay. So moving on in terms of the issues of building this brand even better and more, what are your immediate plans if we look at probably in the next 3-4 years to come?
I mean, our immediate plans to start with as a growing business, we are working first and foremost on our capacity. You may want to know that as we sit here today, over the last 3 years, we've been able to train and graduate close to 20 first officers. In addition, we've been able to promote 2 of them to pilot in command level, including, one of our first officers is the celebrated lady Mbabazi that you've been reading a lot about. We currently have about 20 more young cadets, of whom we have 4 ladies that are training in Ethiopia that would be joining our cockpit probably in the next 12 to 18 months. We have technicians and engineers that are already graduated that are working. More are still in school. We have a plan going forward for the next 5 years where we'll be training at least 20 new pilots every year to join our pilot team. And then across the board, we are building capacity within the dispatchers, the loaders, the managers, airline managers. It can't be an easy task having started from nothing. That is on the capacity building side. On the growth side, in terms of where we want to spread, I'd mentioned to you that we're going to spread into another 7 or so destinations in the next 3 to 4 years. We are already looking at spreading our wings into Aviation before the end of the first quarter next year. We are looking at Rwanda in Angola. We are already talking to the Zambian authorities. We've already been given actually some of the rights we needed. We're talking about Harare. We will be we're already looking at Khartoum. Then we're looking at destinations in China, India.
These are direct flights.
Yes, these are direct
no
flights.
Connecting.
These are direct flights. But again, the whole pillar of our business, as you can understand, is to make Kigali or Rwanda a hub in the region. Even as we talk today, more than 40% of the passengers that we carry on our network are transit passengers that come from destinations in West Africa, heading into East Africa and beyond. We're going to continue building on this hub. We're happy that now the airport facility and infrastructure has been upgraded to a level where transiting through Kigali is definitely a much more comfortable way of to travel than most others in the region or beyond. And then with the coming of Bugesera International Airport, we definitely see that boosting Rwanda as a hub. So the potential is there. I mean, we've seen us come from a mere 100,000 passenger a year to over 500,000 passengers a year in the last 3 years.
Right. So talking of this dream and the cake that you say is really getting bigger and bigger, I don't know if you're in the right position to answer this question, but when or should we ever expect anytime soon a time when the citizens, the members of the public will have a share of this big cake that is being built? I'm talking about listing of Rwandair, the listing, yes.
Look, I think this will come, but like any other business, I mean, and any other investor, public listing comes after the entity has started breaking even and making substantial profits.
So we haven't reached that level.
We yet to get there. I mean, if you look at where we are sitting 4 years into the game, we are yet to break even. I mean, if you look at the capital outlay itself over the last few years, it's very hard to return on that capital within
4 years.
Within 4 years.
So for now, we are...
And again, probably if I could continue, we are still growing. We are still investing. I'm telling you that we are still going to be acquiring new aircraft, much more expensive aircraft, because we are now talking big bodies.
Big bodies, yes.
We are talking new destinations. I mean, and it takes a while before a destination starts making money. So we are still in that investment phase as a business. So we cannot be talking of listing at this point in time. But that is going to come. As soon as all that we are working on at the moment start to yield
some fruits and results,
then naturally there's no way government of Rwanda would not be pushing for Rwandair to be listed, to allow the general public to
have a
take
share. Good. So we have no timelines for now. Can we have
again, that timeline depends on whether we want to freeze our growth at the moment.
All right.
If today we were to say, let's accept to be the small operator that we are at the moment, don't grow. Probably one would say in a number of years we would be able to break even and then list. But we will list as a very small and fragile entity. In our kind of business, you either grow and be strong or remain small and perish. So I think our option, our chosen way is to grow.
Let's talk of the private sector in conclusion as we near the end of this discussion. And when I say private sector, I'm talking of let's say people who would want to tap into these opportunities, including because you've mentioned the issue of capacity building. I would expect that we would see maybe some private investors coming in with aviation schools in order to also play a role and at the same time reap some benefits from these kind of opportunities that are showing up. Do you feel that the private sector sort of is asleep, is not really tapping into these major opportunities that you mentioned here?
Look, the aviation industry and airline industry itself comes with a whole host of other associated industries and businesses around it. Case in point is what you've just talked about.
Yes.
Aviation school. There is already a project that is being worked on as we talk now. The studies are complete. It's being registered and piloted with the Ministry of Education.
This is government again?
Not necessarily government. It's actually being driven as a PP.
Public-private
arrangement. So that is already in the offing. I can tell you of the Inflight catering that was never in this country. As we talk now, this was commissioned on the 1st of August. As we talk now, all the airlines that operate out of Kigali are able to draw their food for in-flight services from that company. Big investment. We're already seeing some of these companies that are working with us on the in-flight magazines. We already have some that are contacting us for in-flight duty-free.
So already people are tapping
There's already good business that is generated around the growth and expansion of Rwandair and aviation sector as a whole.
All right.
By the way, in conclusion, probably in case, remember that just catalyzing the aviation sector in the country has seen the coming of all these airlines that you're seeing. Previously, out of Europe, you were only connected by one airline that came in three times a week. Today, you have two big international airlines straight into Europe. Actually, three. Turkish, KLM, SN. Then you have Qatar, you have Fly Dubai, so all these are coming because all of a sudden
the market
has grown, the pie has grown much bigger. So everybody is coming in to cut a piece of it.
All right. Thank you so much, Bwana John, for your time. Asante for coming over and sharing with us this dream. And of course, we're hoping and wishing you all the best in all you do.
Thank you very much, Eugene, and to the listeners. Keep flying with us. And let's get the dream working.
All right. He's on Twitter at John Mirenge with an R, that is. And of course, you can follow him and get in touch with him right there. The show is One-on-One. We'll be back right here on 89.7 Contact FM. Same time, same place. I'm Eugene Anangwe. Let's keep talking. Goodbye for now.